Today we are going to present our solution for the problem of communication in the Nigerian flood crisis. We believe the communication technology struggles are the main hindrance to providing suitable medical relief, food, and safety to the Nigerian people in the face of flood disaster. We would like to use communication technology to connect the endangered Nigerian citizens to both non-governmental organizations and the world at large to generate a global relief effort. In order to guarantee that our solution is viable, we are going to employ technologies that are currently widely in use and accessible during the flood season. Because the average citizen has very little access to both internet and electricity, using computers or the internet to reach out to people living in Nigerian villages is unlikely to help. The most popularly used communication technologies in Nigeria are battery-powered radios and mobile cellular phones. A recent survey indicates that 82.9% of Nigerians have total access to radio, and 63.9% have access to mobile cell phones. Though over 95% of the population lacks access to a computer or the internet, mobile phone usage continues to increase. Therefore, we intend to connect the Nigerian people to larger organizations by using cell phone and radio technology. Then, aid organizations can use their access to the internet to launch a widespread global relief effort. Now we will discuss how we plan to use these technologies to develop a communication system for education, alert, and maintenance efforts before, during, and after annual flood seasons.
During the response phase, we recommend that Nigeria utilizes 3 technologies in conjunction: cell phones, radio technology, and a central database that we will call the Database for Nigerian Aid. They will use these technologies to respond to the needs of the Nigerian citizens. The database will connect the Nigerian people with outside organizations through the internet. Because most Nigerian citizens do not have internet access, they will not directly access the database. Rather, they will provide the information for the database that outside NGOs in other countries will reference to determine the needs of the citizens and assist Nigeria during the crisis. Nigerians will use cell phones or handheld radios to contact the database. During crises, citizens can update the database with reports on the weather in their area, the various needs in their area, and the resources in their area that they could share with other areas. People managing the database will collect and compile the incoming real-time information about the crisis into a central system. The compiled information can then be used to effectively and efficiently offer aid and relief to the people in crisis. Throughout the crisis, Nigerians will rely on radio broadcasts to keep them informed. The content of radio broadcasts will be determined by the information collected through the database. The radios will broadcast updates on weather, directions for Nigerian citizens, and other key information to direct and manage the people in crisis. In addition to collecting information about the crisis from Nigerian citizens and providing information for radio broadcasts, the database will also provide information to outside non-governmental organizations and countries that could assist Nigeria throughout the crisis. These NGOs and countries will have access to and will interact with the database throughout the crisis. Because the database is the central compiler of the incoming information about needs and conditions, the people managing the database can determine the areas of greatest need and allocate resources accordingly. The database will post the needs, and NGOs in other countries will refer to the database to determine what types of relief are needed, where the relief is needed, and how the relief ought to be transported and distributed. Because Nigerian citizens have limited access to internet, the database connects aid and relief with the people in crisis.
We propose that NEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency, develops and maintains the DNA, even after Nigeria has recovered from the current crisis. As said, since the populace of Nigeria doesn't have much access to the internet or computers, the focus of this resource will be to mobilize and organize outside help, though it will also be formatted with the eventual intent, when Nigerians have more access to technology, of being a database that helps the populace plan for disaster. In an effort to continue relief, the database will continue to compile information on potential disasters, missing persons, and crime. The database will function as an open network which encourages help from NGOs and allows them to receive updates and plan ways in which to send help, especially as the database will have a compiled list of all needed resources. The DNA will both function as a means to prevent and alleviate disasters, as it will also be a center of information on how to avoid crisis, providing information on potential disasters while also presenting ways to ensure response efforts are directed at preventing any further tragedies. We also propose that the government should set up drills for villages to help the residents know where to seek high ground and what emergency precautions to take in the case of a flood. The drills can be held every few months or so in order to help establish a precedent for villagers and will make sure that a plan is in place should disaster occur. The government should mandate these drills as well as ensure that drainage, ditches, and etc. are cleared. Though alerts went out in 2012 to try to warn people to clear these ditches, it might be helpful to ensure or to enforce that these ditches are cleaned regularly, perhaps through a regulatory branch, as many villages didn't, in fact, do so. Infrastructure should also be upgraded and maintained, such as dams and broadcast towers for radios and cell phones.
Our suggested technologies will continue to be valuable after Nigeria has recovered from the 2012 flooding crisis. Nigerians can continue to send messages through mobile and radio devices to NEMA about supplies and resources they need to develop their economy. The database will support the efforts of programs such as the National Empowerment and Development Strategy, which seeks to empower Nigerian people, promote private enterprise, and improve the functioning of the government. The United Nations Economic Governance Program for Nigeria, whose goal is to create an effective development planning system, establish laws that ensure finances are used responsibly, collect data to guide government policies, and create a system for aid coordination and management. As well as the Nigerian Red Cross Society, which seeks to overcome the challenges of disaster relief, focusing on their 4 pillars of disaster management, health and care, dissemination and communication, and organizational development. The database will provide these programs with a centralized location to go for information about the current state of the Nigerian economy, guiding their donations and relief efforts. NEMA can update the DNA so organizations know the country is no longer in a state of crisis, but is still in need of help from NGOs in foreign countries. The DNA will outline the supplies and resources Nigerians request through their radios and mobile devices and will provide an explanation of what they intend to use the materials for. In the event of another emergency, the radios and mobile devices can be used to send warnings to the Nigerian people before disaster hits, and after the disaster hits, they can facilitate the communication between Nigerians and NEMA. NEMA can update the database to explain the crisis in Nigeria, as well as the supplies and resources donors can give to the country to help them recover once more.